So let's start off by talking about the three most typical mandates that one can come across. Starting off with the exclusive sole mandate, which allows one agency to control the marketing of your property. The second is a joint mandate, which allows two or more agents selected by the owner to deal with the marketing of your property. And the third, an open mandate, which really allows all and sundry to be marketing your property. And those are the three main mandates that we come across in our business. So let's talk about, in my opinion, the most important mandate, the exclusive sole mandate. So let's talk about, in my opinion, the most important mandate, the exclusive sole mandate. Now I know that many sellers see this as a benefit to the agency, but aren't always fully aware of the benefit to them, the seller. So I believe that when somebody is selling their property, there are three objectives that they want to achieve. They want to sell for as much as possible, as quickly as possible, in the most professional and hassle-free way possible. So let's talk about those three, starting off obviously with the most important, which is why will a sole mandate achieve more for you, the seller? It's a common understanding in the industry. It's hard necessarily to say it or admit it, but in a sole mandate, your agent has full control over the marketing and the negotiation of your property. That allows them the safety to market and push up the price as much as possible by working their buyer or buyers, as the case may be. Why do our sole mandates sell faster? Well, as you know, as an agency, we only get paid on the successful sale of your property. So we have a vested interest in our sole mandates, and when we have a sole mandate, it unlocks marketing reach that we ordinarily would not give and have the opportunity to spend on an open mandate. Again, it gives you a fully committed agent who is waking up hyper-focused to get your property done and sold. And obviously we have a time frame within which we have to operate in that sole mandate, and we're well aware of that. And then thirdly, which I think we can even talk a little bit more because it's worthy, why does a sole mandate give you a professional and a hassle-free experience? Well, because you're dealing with one agent who is hyper-focused on your property, who is giving you feedback on your property, and is managing everything from A to Z, and you know who that agent is as your port of call. You have about a 70% more chance of selling your property on sole mandate than you do on selling it on an open mandate. Our sole mandates sell for more, typically about 20% more than an open mandate. They sell for faster, typically half the time of an open mandate. And interestingly, 70% of our sales are on sole mandate, 15% on joint mandate, and 15% on open mandate. When you look at those stats of the majority of our sales being on sole mandate, you might think it's because we hold more sole mandates than any other mandate type, but that's not correct. In fact, we tend to hold more open mandates than we do any other mandate, because we can take an open mandate on knowing that we aren't fully responsible and committed to the seller of that mandate. We take it on and we put it on our books, and if we do have a suitable buyer, we will then take them through. However, we're more selective when we take on a sole mandate because there's a responsibility that we take on. As your agency as well, your preferred and chosen agency, we've got to often have the difficult conversations that aren't always the easiest for a seller to want to hear. But as an agency, our job is to wake up and give you the information to make an informed decision. It is not the time to be making emotional decisions. You need to be able to put on a business hat. And I know that that's not always easy when it comes to your home or a family home, but it is so critical because this is probably one of the biggest business decisions that you could be making in your lifetime or over that period of time, depending on your other property portfolios. award a sole mandate. Maybe some of the time that would, I would imagine most of the time that would be in our favor, but even if it's not, pick one agency and give them the sole mandate. I've gone through the benefits and the reason why. But when you are awarding that sole mandate and you're trying to pick your agent, there are two very important aspects to that. You want an agent that you can most importantly trust and like, because it is a journey that you are going to have to go on together. But more importantly than that, ask your agent certain questions. Do they have a big brand that you know that if something's going to go wrong, they're going to step in and make sure that you are covered and protected? Sellers always say when you're pitching a sole mandate in front of them, they say to you, yes, but I know what's going to happen. You're going to sit on your hands for the first period of time and then maybe you'll work it towards the end of the mandate period. Well, if that is the case, I would argue that you are sitting with the wrong agency. It's not an issue with the sole mandate. And in fact, us, and I'm putting this on camera, if we have been entrusted with a sole mandate, we take that responsibility very seriously. And if there is ever a situation where you feel any of my agents are sitting on their hands and they are not giving you a property, the commitment and the responsibility that is vested in us on a sole mandate, you are welcome to contact me, and if that is the case, I will cancel the sole mandate because I trust my agents and I trust the value of a sole mandate, and we as a company take that commitment very seriously. Most months, you're going to see that there are 3, maybe 4 agencies doing the bulk, being about 80 to 85% of the sales. You need to make sure that the agency you're picking is one of those 3 or 4 agencies. So that already brings you down to quite a limited pool as to where you should be shopping for an agency to entrust with a sole mandate. So you need to pick an agent who is highly entrenched and understands that market super well, and obviously is giving you the feedback of a variety of marketing campaigns so that you can make the most important decision, which is often, is your price correct? And if not, where should we be bringing it down to and how quickly should we be managing that process? So also, when you are now ready to award a sole mandate and you are interviewing your different agencies, the sole mandate is a key part of that interview process because you are hiring somebody to negotiate on your behalf and to get you the highest possible price for your house. So when an agent is not there and capable to negotiate a sole mandate, that should be an alarm bell for you. And secondly, if they are not negotiating the commission, more than likely in that case, well then yes, the agent is taking it onto their books and they are not worried about actually selling the property and the commission at the end of the day. I would challenge and say that where an agent is fighting for their comm, they're already thinking about the sale, they feel confident that they can achieve it, and obviously they want to be rewarded accordingly. The majority of our agents have been with us for 14 plus years, with our longest serving agent being with us for 36 years. So I know that we are sitting with some of the most experienced agents in the marketplace, and certainly I know that we are sitting with the best negotiators in the marketplace. When we do bring an agent on board, they are stress tested. There's training, there's mentorship, and of course there's oversight. I often will go in with my agents. I do get involved in some of the closing of deals because we are a team, and sometimes it does require coming together with different thoughts and different objectives to achieve the goal for you, the seller. In truth, and I know I'm biased in saying this, I think agents are undervalued for this broad spectrum of skill sets that they need to bring together to look after you, the seller, and ultimately achieve a sale. So you would want an agent who is up to date with all the laws and the advice to be able to give you, such as, for example, where there's a mortgage bond, cancel your mortgage bond early enough, doesn't penalize you in any way other than protecting you from paying an additional fee for a late cancellation should you require a short transfer. They're going to advise you as to how best to prepare for a sale, what certificates you are going to need, whether or not you're an international seller or a local seller, the exchange rate implications that we're currently finding with foreign buyers at the moment. So you want someone who's going to be able to guide you through all of those processes which take you to the sale point. But once the offer to purchase is signed, your agent's job is not done. In fact, more often than not, unfortunately, especially in the current market conditions, there are problems that happen post the signing and agreement being finalized between the two parties. And that's where your agent still needs to bring value. They need to get your deal from the signed OTP all the way to the transfer. So I want to talk about a scenario that's happened to me personally when I've acted as an agent, and does happen in our industry, which I always find quite humorous, in that we will sign a sole mandate and sometimes we will literally bring the seller an offer for the full asking price the next day. The seller sees that as, well, that was easy, why should I pay you your full commission? And I would argue under those circumstances that we have more than done our job. Would you, the seller, actually have wanted us to take longer? Or do you realize that that's a client that we have probably been dealing with for months, have been on our database, and the moment we sit and sign the sole mandate, and I'm sure most of my agents do this, we are already placing which buyer could be suitable for your specific property. And that value is ultimately what you want from your agency. Another objection that we get often against a sole mandate is that ultimately it's going to restrict the pool of buyers that that agent has access to. And again, I would argue the converse, because it unlocks the agency's database, their marketing, their reach, and most importantly, and when you're signing the sole mandate, they should be working with every other agency who has a buyer and be working and allowing them through your property. So you're not restricted in any single way. And that happens often. We often have a sole mandate and we are working with other agents. But again, you're dealing then with one agent who is managing the whole process for you. Well, a sole mandate protects you from double commission. And what is double commission? Well, it's having to have paid the commission twice to two different agencies because both are disputing who was the effective cause. Actually, this happens, and we've seen it that some people have even had to pay triple commission under the circumstances. Where you hold a sole mandate, you are without dispute knowing that there's one commission that you have to pay to one agency at the end of the day, and who that agency works with will be a split of their commission. So you are safeguarded in that process.